8:11 on Tuesday, February 10th. There's a live look at downtown Vancouver. Looks a little murky. Sometimes it's a little murky when we talk politics. We get confused as one side of the aisle says one thing, the other side says another. We don't know who to believe. We don't know what the breakdown is. So what do? We bring in our political analyst, OMNI TV's Kim Emerson, joining us by phone from Victoria. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning.
Yeah, we're talking about the legislative session beginning today, going for 12 weeks. We're looking at 7 days from now, seeing the budget. Give us an idea of what this session will be like starting today.
Well, I think what you're going to see is in the fall, it was all about the LNG tax. And let's get the LNG tax through to make these companies happy and get LNG moving. This time, it's more likely to be, damn, let's talk about anything but LNG. Let's talk about everything except LNG. Let's talk about mining. Let's talk about forestry. Let's really pump tourism because the Canadian dollar is down, and maybe we can get some people to come to Canada and come to BC and into Victoria and pay us a visit and spend some money because LNG, as we all know, is not going in the direction the government wanted. Commodity prices are way down, so that is still going to be a part of what's happening. And you'll hear about that in the throne speech today because the government will crow, as it will throughout the throne speech, about what it sees as its accomplishment. It will crow about the deals that they've made with First Nations in the province to come to terms on energy deals, particularly LNG energy deals. So that will be a big part of the throne speech, but you'll also start to hear a lot of other things about how they are trying to push tourism, how they are trying to do other things to keep BC's economy diversified. And you mentioned the budget. One of the reasons that we do have or will have the possibility of having a balanced budget, apart from the shenanigans that goes on in any budget, is the fact that BC has had a diversified economy basically as far back as the social credit government, who started to realize you can't just rely on the United States as your trading partner. You have to find other markets. BC has done that through the Social Credit Party, through the NDP, and in particular now through the Liberals. So you will see a better than balanced budget coming up next week. And there will be some goodies in there that we need to look at.
Okay, let's talk about some of the goodies. Because the NDP seems to be on the other side with the expectation of a positive number when the budget is announced. The NDP are saying, oh no, this is all about pinching and raised fees. Should we be concerned about that?
Well, oh no, you absolutely should be, because in large part, the government's diversified economy situation, as I mentioned, not just because of what they've done, leads us to have a better chance at balanced budgets than other provinces. But the way the Liberal government has managed to achieve that is through gouging you for higher hydro rates, higher ICBC rates, higher MSP premiums. I mean, you name it, the list goes on and on and on. When you got 4 million people in the province of BC and you jack up everybody's fees and so forth by a few $100s, it doesn't take you long to figure out that that's a whack of dough that's coming in. So that's one way that they're doing it. The other thing that they did, and the Auditor General called them out on this one, selling off assets from the province of British Columbia. She says that's not sustainable. You don't have enough assets to keep selling things off to balance the budget. So that's where we're at. But the government and the NDP is always going to be negative about everything to do with this government. But that's where we're at, and we will have better than balanced, better than the $444 million surplus that the finance minister had predicted before. And one of those goodies that you're going to see and hear about, and a bit of legislation that will be needed to accomplish this, is the government has taken an absolute beating over single-parent families, mostly women, who are on income assistance, some of them on disability assistance, having their child support payments clawed back from that income assistance. The government has taken an absolute beating on this, and this is one place where the NDP should be credited, Michelle Mungal in particular, pushing this. It's a $17 million hit on the provincial economy, but now it's quite clear that the government can afford it, and this is their one little bit of good social news that they're going to put out there to make people feel a little better about it.
In particular, those single parents who need that support in such a major way. Kim, I'd be remiss if we didn't at least address the cabinet shuffle that went down on the federal level. Is this a good idea so close to an election for Prime Minister Harper, or is this going to make things more difficult for him?
Well, nothing's going to make anything easy for Prime Minister Harper at this point. And whenever you get close to an election, whether it's provincial election or federal election, there's always a little bit of jockeying, because there's always some people who decide that they're not going to run again, people who want to move up in the ranks, such as Jason Kenney getting a nice promotion there. There's always a bit of that leading up to an election. in this case, you've also got that coupled with Eve Adams basically being tossed out by the Conservatives and being embraced by the Liberals, which is a bit of cynical politics at its best. So it's a little bit more of a splinter here than what we're accustomed to seeing prior to elections, but nothing that Stephen Harper does at this point is really going to help or bolster his situation, because it seems that every other party and a lot of the public want to find a reason not to like him.
Right. And the first domino, of course, the resignation of Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird last week. Kim Emerson, you always make it so simple for us to take in what is going on in our confused political system. We appreciate it. I'm certain we'll be checking back with you often over the next 12 weeks. Thanks, Kim.
I look forward to it. Okay.
All right.